Every moment of every event in our lives plants something in our soul. Unfortunately, that's not to say that it automatically grows. But God is continually calling us to a more authentic life. It's not a task God imposes on us with the accompanying threat of punishment if we don't shape up. Rather, it's an opportunity He offers. We are His children, and like any good parent, He wants so much to see us grow and achieve our potential. Ever since we were tiny, the seed of His word has been spilling over into the soil of our hearts. His word is not dead and lifeless. It's full of life and energy. If it doesn't produce results, then perhaps that's because our hearts are dead, or so hard and stony that nothing can grow there. There was once a famous violin teacher who not only knew his music, he was also gifted with great patience. He had a knack of being able to draw out the best in his pupils, working wonders with pupils who were not particularly gifted. One year, 4 pupils were sent to him. He could see at the outset that each of them had very definite potential, and he was excited. The first was Mary. However, she'd only just started her music lessons when her friends began to pester her. They would come knocking at the door, begging her to come out and play with them. She gave in, and that was the end of her music career. The teacher was sad to see her go. The second was John. It was never his idea to take music lessons. It was his parents who sent him. From the very beginning, his heart just wasn't in it. However, for a while, he was excited at the sound of the violin, but the novelty soon wore off. It was so much hard work. He found it so hard to stay indoors for hours on end, practicing silly scales. He got tired and gave up. Again, the teacher was sad. The third was Martin. He was multi-talented. He particularly liked athletics and basketball. Being of an ambitious nature, he wanted to cultivate all of his interests. For a while, he succeeded, but with all his interests and his ordinary school studies to contend with, things became too hectic. Something was bound to suffer. It was the music. First, he began to fall behind in his practice. Then he started to miss lessons, and then he just gave up altogether because he was so far behind. His action was understandable. He had just far too much to do, but the teacher was nonetheless sad and disappointed. The fourth pupil was Anne. She was by no means the most gifted of the 4, but she really wanted to succeed. So right from the start, she put her heart and soul into it. She trusted her teacher fully and tried to follow his instruction to the letter. She did everything that was asked of her. Of course, there were times when things were boring and she would rather have been outdoors playing with her friends, and she was tempted to give it all up. And she also had other interests, but she made her music her priority. She stuck to it, and she landed up with first-class honours. Her teacher was delighted, and all her friends rejoiced in her success. Now, each one of us is born with gifts and aptitudes. Some of us realise them, some don't. Most of us have the capacity to become great people in particular areas of our lives, but sadly, we never achieve because our gifts lie hidden and have not been encouraged to grow and develop. As we're growing up, we overlook the hidden abilities that lie within our grasp to settle for what our peers deem the cool thing to be doing. All too often, it's in later life that hidden gifts surface and we begin to regret not focusing on them earlier. It's a bit the same with the Word of God. That word calls us to a better life. We hear it, but we also hear other voices calling us to a life of comfort and pleasure and self-indulgence. Others begin to answer the call, but find it too costly and soon throw in the towel and return to their old ways. Others genuinely want to respond to the call, but they have so many other pressing things to cope with in life. And let's remember that these are almost always not bad things. Usually, in fact, they're good things. That's what makes it so difficult. We don't see them as a threat, but the end result is the same. The seed comes to nothing. And then there are some people who offer the seed a responsive heart. They make God's voice the most important thing in their lives. The conditions that militate against the seed are present in each one of our hearts. However, also present is the kind of good soil that would see healthy growth. At the end of our lives, it may well be the fact that we haven't used this rather than the evil that we've done that will cause us most regret. And some people who've heard the word of God and responded to it, you can notice a steady growth in holiness. In others, years can pass by and you notice nothing. Then something happens, maybe a death or being made redundant, or we feel betrayed in a relationship, and then we see the light. Suddenly our true potential is revealed and begins to fully blossom. Our main task is to remain receptive, to remain open to the possibility of God's word taking root in us and coming to full blossom. Perhaps a simple way forward is to ensure that each week we read the scriptures readings before we gather at the weekend. It may be not much, but at least when we hear the word of God proclaimed, we're already up and running. An indication that we're open and receptive.